Hi everyone, welcome to your Mercury Retrograde. So this is going to be a collective energy read for everybody, okay? It runs from the 9th to the 29th, and again, people tend to panic in a Mercury retrograde, but I think that this retrograde is going to be quite good. I think it depends if you listen to the caution and also if you apply yourself at this time. Okay, so the central theme is the Empress. So there's a strong indication, especially if you're a woman listening or watching this, especially if you're looking at the cards, um, that you should focus on yourself, that you should use this time to wrap up 2025 and prepare for 2026. Because what's working for you is the Wheel of Fortune. So these are not random cards. I use my deck and I pulled the cards and then I've made this very pretty. So the message at this time is to basically review 2025 and prepare for 2026. And some of you are in a very strong position because the central theme is the Empress. So some of you might have had a very, very successful 2025. And so now it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So the Empress is someone who's got abundance, she's got wealth, she's in a place she likes, like she's happy, right? So not everybody's struggling. Of course, some people are struggling listening to this reading, but some people are very successful. They've earned it. They deserve the comforts and the abundance that they're living in. So I think the message at this time is not to allow people around you to, because their time is struggle, to affect you. You also need to watch the people around you because big caution at this time is the Five of Wands with the Ten of Cups reversed. So this could be people who were trying to come back into your life, maybe friends, family. Family came up strongly. And maybe the reason for this is it's not really about you, it's more leeching. Because the Ten of Cups reversed, the biggest impact of the retrograde is people who are leeching, because the Empress is in a good position, but that sometimes can come with jealousy, it can come with envy, it can come with people who want to pull us down. Because in the Wheel of Fortune, what goes up must come down. So just don't pay these people no mind, just focus on you, be true to yourself, focus on what you've got to take care of, and enjoy what you've built. So another big message in this Mercury retrograde is the past coming back, because you've got the Knight of Cups to the Empress. So you can see in the cards, the Knight of Cups is offering the Empress something. I feel like this is a person from your past, because Mercury retrograde, it always brings people from our past back. It also brings debtors back, things we haven't took care of, things we've avoided. This could be things we need to heal. So Mercury retrograde, things do come back from the past and people do come back from the past. Sometimes, though, it can be opportunities that we kind of shelved and we didn't use, and we had these ideas and we didn't put them into action. But now in the Mercury retrograde, it comes back around and we put it into action, and it can lead to great abundance. So, for the single feminines listening to this or watching this, both, I suppose, the message at this time is like, what can you plant at this time? Instead of focusing on like the 2025, what you haven't done, the time you've wasted, how can you leverage this time? What can you build within this time so 2026 can actually be different? Some of you are going to be in your feelings, and I think this Mercury retrograde is going to be hell. So, what I mean by this is, when Mercury is going backwards, we tend to think with our unconscious, we tend to be reactive. And so some of you might start getting in your feelings about a certain person. For the men watching and listening to this can also be a woman. But again, with the biggest impact of the retrograde being the Ten of Cups reversed, it's not going to work out. Now, again, you can book a personal, you can go to another reader, you can watch other readers, but the biggest impact of the retrograde is the Ten of Cups reversed. So for those who get in the feelings at this time and they reconnect because the past comes knocking on the door, that's fine. But the biggest impact is that it's not going to end up in harmony. So it could also be that this person is in their feelings. Because Mercury retrograde is like, you're not really thinking with common sense. You're thinking through your emotions. Your mind is running backwards, right? So you're not really thinking with common sense. So, because this can also be dreams as well. I think another thing that people don't talk a lot about is dreams. So, in a Mercury retrograde, because a lot is happening in the unconscious mind, we might have dreams about, say, an ex. But it's not because we're meant to reconnect with that ex. It's just because we need to heal from our ex to be able to be the empress, which is to move towards love. So if you're having dreams at this time, okay, maybe it feels like maybe the person's thinking about you and wants to reconnect, but sometimes it's more to do with our unconscious mind. Our body needs to heal. I think Mercury retrograde can be really, really good for people who spend a lot of time in the head, because but it kind of slows down. So think Geminis, think Aquarius, think Libra. We spend a lot of time in our head. So when a Mercury goes retrograde, it's an opportunity to get into our feelings. It's an opportunity to get out of our head. But like I said, sometimes, yes, you're meant to reconnect with a person. Sometimes your dreams are revealing something. Sometimes you're telepathically connecting with that person. It can be real, you know? But I think in a Mercury retrograde, you just need to be cautious, because mostly it's just our unconscious that's bringing up memory, and it's doing it in the day, and it's doing it in our sleep, and it's doing it so that we can heal the past to move into the future. Okay. Until we've cut the bonds with our ex, the memory, the pain, we can't really move on with anybody else. So some of yous, I'm explaining this because that's exactly what is happening. It's not because you're meant to reconnect with your ex. So let me give you an example. If the biggest impact of the retrograde was the Ten of Cups upright, I would say maybe in the past, this person didn't have it together, but they've changed, and actually there's a chance for this to happen. In other words, for it to become a family, for it to become a solid connection. But I don't get that here. So just be cautious with the past making a comeback, okay? Now, again, if the past comes knocking, you choose to let it in, you'll get the lesson again. That's how I see it, because the Wheel of Fortune is karma. It's lessons that we need to learn. So it can also be at this time we end up repeating a cycle. We end up doing the same lesson again, which is perfectly fine, because at the end of the day, people do lessons as much as they need to until they get the message. Another message is, a lot of years, I do think you need to reflect on 2025. And there is definitely something big around the house that you live in, because the Wheel of Fortune represents the seventh house of home and family. You've also got the Ten of Cups reverse, which is home and family, but the Ten of Cups reverse would be broken home and family, or it would be people we just experience disharmony with. So also with the Five of Wands, this is people who would having a lot of conflict where we don't feel at peace in our home. So 2026, I think it's time to reflect. In other words, before you move into 2026, it's time to think about the house, the home, the family, the people around you. I think it's time to reflect on how these people have impacted you in 2025, and if you want to continue that in 2026. Because they say that basically we're a reflection of our environment, we're a product of our environment, which is very true. We're a reflection of the people around us. I think some of yous, I think, don't let family back in. Now, this is not saying you shouldn't heal bonds, but maybe just put that off at this time, because if you've been having problems with people in your family, for example, I just don't think it's going to be healed. I don't think the people who you're having the problems with, especially as they're in a Knight of Cups energy, I just don't think you're going to heal it with these people. I feel like these people are still full of conflict, they're still full of drama, or they might still continue to create conflict or create drama. Okay? The best thing about this Mercury retrograde is to focus on yourself. The best thing about this Mercury retrograde is use it as an opportunity to clean up your past, to clean up things you've been avoiding, so that when you go into the new cycle, which is 2026, you can go into it with no past baggage, with nothing following you. That's another message. I feel like the universe is telling you to listen to your heart and to reconnect with your true self. Because some of you listening to this and watching this, you're just in an environment that is not true to you. You're around people who are not your people, right? Some of you are dealing with a dreamer, so you're dealing with a relationship where this person is a love bomber. So this is someone who promises to change, they promise to do the work, yada, 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 but they're just not doing it. So the Empress is someone who's committed to her healing. She's done the work, she's doing the work, she's building herself, she's providing for herself, but you're surrounded around people or a certain person who's not. So with the Wheel of Fortune is all about an alignment card. So it's about being honest. Are these people going to help you to find the peace, the success, the stability that you're looking for? Is this person? And if the answer is no, you've got to be ruthless. You've got to say, no, I'm sorry, but no. So the universe is telling you this. The universe is also cause and effect. So I think some of you right now, you're not the problem, especially if you're a woman listening to this or watching this, because you're coming up as the Empress. It seems to be people around you or an environment or family, right? Or it seems to be people who want to be jealous, want to be competitive. They're not looking for the Empress. The Empress just wants peace. She just wants a good life. She just wants to be creative. This could be, for example, as well, you go to a job and in this job it's just full of people who just backbite, they're just not good, right? Whereas the Empress wants to collaborate, she wants to be creative, she wants to connect. These people don't want to do that. So the caution at this time is to watch people around you. Some of you, I think there's red flags here. There's definitely red flags in an environment because the 501s people, they're fighting, right? And they're full of conflict and they just seem to be creating drama. So there's red flags about be careful about that at this time. Also, this can be with the Mercury retrograde, it affects our speech. So you need to make sure that you're communicating properly because there can be a lot of conflict within a family or a lot of conflict within a relationship with the Mercury retrograde because people aren't thinking straight, people aren't communicating properly. So a lot of arguments can happen at this time. Um, but I think the Empress is someone who knows what she wants. And I think that's a message at this time. For the men who are listening to this and watching this, the Empress could be if a woman is rejecting you, then maybe she just sees it as you're not what she wants. I do kind of get that. I kind of get a one sided situation, or I kind of get that a person has done the work and they're the highest level, but the other person is not. I'm getting a lot of jealousy, you know. So for the people who are listening to this and watching this and they're kind of feeling rejected or they're feeling like people are out for them, I feel like it's coming from a place of their own conflicts, their own projections and jealousy. Okay. But I'm going to say, if you fell on this message, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, and you're thinking about going back to the past, or the past makes a comeback in some way, could be family relations, it could be a certain person, I would say avoid it. I would say you've worked too hard to protect your peace, to get yourself to where you are, to let this back in. And I think if you do let this back in, you're just going to regret it. For the women who are watching this and listening to this and they're tired of um, living in this home, they're tired of this environment, they're tired of going to this job where these people are just not good, they're very toxic. It's time to do the work, it's time to start planting new seeds, it's time to start thinking about, the Empress is someone who births things, so it's time to start thinking about what you can create at this time that's going to get you out of this. And I heard it will be a fight, but it's going to be worth it. So, in other words, don't worry about where you are now. Don't focus too much on that, right? Think about in a year, if I really commit myself, what could I build? And some of you definitely need to start thinking about a change of location. You need to start thinking about a change of city or a change of town. Because what I'm getting is the energy, the frequency, the people around you are not good. They're just not in alignment with the kind of peace and the kind of stability and the kind of comfort that you want. So it's not about judging people, but it's about being honest. And I think Mercury retrograde is going to allow you to do that. So this collective message is for those people who were reviewing 2025. the cleaning up their act. That's what I would advise as well. Mercury retrograde is so good to clean out the cupboards, get rid of old clothes, just to release baggage. That's what a Mercury retrograde is about. It's about releasing mental baggage, releasing um, any kind of baggage, right? It's reviewing our past. It's looking at, okay, how is my past keeping me stuck? So some of you could have an ex who you don't want back, but you need to review your ex. You need to kind of go deep into your unconscious at this time, review that connection so you can release and transmute it and you can move towards new love. So I feel like it's about being fearless at this time. And I feel like what's amazing as well is that the universe is on your side. So, as the Empress, especially if you're living in your authenticity, even if you're being attacked by these people, right, it doesn't matter because the universe is supporting you. And also, the Wheel of Fortune is karma. So, in other words, what people do, they're going to get back because it's cause and effect. So, some of you are being told that if you're living in your truth and you're just doing what makes you happy and you're not trying to bother anybody or you're not trying to affect anybody, the universe has got your back. You're supported. But the universe is also supporting that you need to think this year about, have I lived in my truth? Have I loved myself? Or have I made choices from survival, from fear? Why am I in this job surrounded by these toxic people? Why am I in this city? This is big thinking because this thinking at this time is going to lead to the changes in 2026. So, in other words, by really reflecting upon this year and choices you've made, good or bad, it can be a catalyst for new choices, change that could lead to 2026 being much different. So I'm also getting a person who wants to leave. Maybe they don't have the financial means right now, but I'm also getting something about the selling of a home. So I'm getting that someone wants to sell a home and buy a home. I feel like you should start looking around. Remember, we talked about planting the seeds. So this will be going to the real estate agents, looking at different prospects and opportunities. But the message at this time is don't sign any contracts, don't be too hasty. And I get that some of you are in an insufferable situation. So some of you listening to this and watching this, you might be, for example, living with a family, but the family is toxic. Some of you could be living in accommodation or in a certain place and it's just unbearable. So again, instead of getting frustrated, as much as I understand, I've been there, instead of getting frustrated by it, ask yourself, okay, how am I gonna fix this? What am I gonna do to get the resources, get the money, kind of start a business, kind of look at another job? It's getting creative. The Empress is somebody who's creative. She's getting creative. Instead of reacting, she's getting creative in the situation she finds herself in, right? Some of you are going to end jobs at this time. You're going to end relationships at this time. Like I said, if the past comes back, I'd advise against it. Again, it's up to you if you want to go back to the past. That's a choice you need to make. Personally, I don't think it's going to work out with this person, but you can book a personal. So, the collective message at this time is to get creative with the circumstances you find yourself in. Maybe it's a good season for you. Maybe you're just enjoying your abundance. Maybe you've worked really hard and there's people around you who are salty. Not your problem, okay? You need to tune out the noise. Everybody's in a different season. So if you're in a good season, don't let people take that away from you. Now's a time to start to think about 2026, reflect on 2025, what's been good, what's been bad, stuff like that, okay? Now's a time to clean up your act. So like I said, as we come to the end of the year and with this Mercury retrograde, it's a good opportunity to clear things out and get prepared for the new cycle. If the past makes a comeback or if you're itching to call someone from the past, again, no one's saying you can't do it, but maybe wait until Mercury retrograde is over, because then you'll know that you're making choices from your common sense rather than because it's a Mercury retrograde and you're coming from old emotions. Because I do get that the ones who are listening to this, if you go back to the past, I think you'll regret it. Okay? And try to avoid people at this time. Those people who you just kind of get that feeling of. try to avoid it with these people, because I feel like these people are intending on a, this is people who intentionally want to read things the wrong way. You know, it could also be with friends or family. You might have some misunderstandings because people aren't really communicating, and you just need to be aware of this. But I think it's a powerful time. It's a powerful time for the people who are protecting the peace. They're not going back to the past. They know who to stay away from. They're not reacting from their emotions. They're using the Mercury retrograde as leverage rather than feeding it. A lot of people hate Mercury retrograde, they feed it, but you just need to be careful with what you're signing. You need to be careful where, you know, if you've got plans, if you've got travel, stuff like that, just extra check details. But it's fine, it's going to be fine. So if you like this, like the video, comment. If you want to see more of this, this is just something new. I personally pulled the cards. I love this. I do think Mercury retrograde can be so powerful if it's utilized and not feared. Like if you use it in the right way, it's very powerful. But I do think sometimes it can trip us up. And sometimes, you know, things from our past that we haven't healed come back up, and it does make us feel uncomfortable. But again, it's on you to say, okay, what's coming up within me from the past that I need to look at? Because energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transmuted. Okay. And sometimes your past is coming up because actually your past is unconsciously blocking you from your future, from your abundance, from what you want, right? So Mercury retrograde is really, really powerful, and I love this. I really do. But I think there's some traps here, there's some pitfalls that you just need to avoid. It can also be sometimes we're not communicating properly. So if you're a Gemini listening to this or a Virgo listening to this, you need to try to communicate as articulately as you can, because people might be picking it up in a different, maybe your tone, maybe what you're saying. So if there's people you love and there's people you care about, then you will put that extra effort into being clear in your communication. But this is a powerful time to clean up your digital, your physical environment. Um, Also, what to avoid at this time is gluttony, because with that Knight of Cups, this is someone who's leaning on addictions. This could be someone who's partying too much or they're drinking too much. I'm an advocate for balance. I think you live once. So I think eat the food, drink the drink, but don't get crazy. Because with it being Christmas season, people do tend to get a bit crazy. Try to balance, because you also enjoy it, right? If you balance the nice food and you balance the drink, you actually enjoy it. If you overdo it, you just feel shit. So, but some of yours, I love this because you're already there. Like with that Empress, it's like you already know who to avoid. If the past comes knocking, you're not opening the door. Some of yours, you're not, I feel like there's some people around you who are constantly blaming other people, they're constantly projecting outwards, they're constantly looking for people to attack. Whereas you're not doing that, you're taking responsibility. And I will say, for the people who take responsibility at this time, I think it's good. For the people who use this Mercury retrograde, I think it's going to be really good for now, but mostly for 2026. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you want to book the end of year forecast, it's linked at the end. If you want to book your 2026, it's half price at this time. And there's a brand new membership. So if you join the YouTube membership, you'll get access to new videos first. You'll get access to all different style content. As you can see, I'm trying new things. So if you want the extras, join the membership. Purchase the 2026 read. It's going to be epic. Enjoy the read, and I'll speak to you soon.